The first pass of the day was intercepted, my friend. The very first one. The grass in Foxborough had not even had time to warm up, and the ball was already in the hands of the opposing defense. And it did not stop there. Another interception came right after, against one of the best-built defenses in the entire NFL, on the second and final day of joint practices between two teams that went at each other like it actually counted for something. Anybody following the updates on their phone got an immediate feeling of disaster. Social media did what social media always does, and the narrative formed within a matter of minutes. The Philadelphia Eagles quarterback had sunk again. Except then came the full report from one of the most respected journalists in Philadelphia, the guy who covers this team up close every single day. And the grade he handed that same performance made a lot of people choke on their coffee, because it was not the grade the entire internet was expecting. The truth is that this story has a second half almost nobody is telling you about, and it is exactly in that second half that the information that matters for the 2026 season is hiding. Hit that like button right now and subscribe to the channel, because what happened in the final minutes of that practice completely changes how you read what went down in Massachusetts. Let us take this step by step. We are talking about the 14th practice of Philadelphia Eagles training camp and the second day of joint work against the New England Patriots, the reigning American Football Conference champions. In other words, this was not just any opponent. This was the best team in the AFC last season, with an elite-level defense, in their own building, with their crowd and with the tempo dictated by them. And the man at the center of it all, the one carrying the weight of every ball thrown and every narrative created in this city, is Jalen Hurts. Now let us get to the real numbers, because numbers are the only thing that does not lie in this kind of argument. Hurts' final line that day was 9 completions on 15 attempts, with 4 touchdowns and 2 interceptions. Do not read that too fast. Slow down and look at it. 4 touchdowns. 4. Against the defense of the American Football Conference champion, in a 2-hour practice, with the team running an offensive system that is literally weeks old. 60% completion rate, 4 balls into the end zone, 2 interceptions. Is that a genuinely bad day? Or is it a busy day with ups and downs that the internet decided to summarize using only the downs? That is exactly the question Elliot Shore-Parks, of 94 WHIP, answered in his report. And the answer was a grade of B. It is not a perfect score, it is not gushing praise, but it is a very long way from the disaster the timeline tried to sell you. And here is the most important part. The day before, in the first joint practice, that same journalist had given Hurts a C-, which means there is documented progression here. The quarterback played better on day 2 than on day 1, against the same defense, a defense that had 24 extra hours of study on him. That is not a small detail, my friend. That is improvement inside a single week. And why did the grade go up? Because of the final drill, the one both teams treat as the decisive moment of the entire session. Ball placed 25 yards from the end zone, New England's defense with everything on the field, and the exercise decides the symbolic win of the practice. According to Shore-Parks' account, Hurts found Dallas Goedert and then Dontavion Wicks on back-to-back plays, moving the ball down to the 5-yard line. On the next play, he did the hardest thing there is for a quarterback under pressure. He stood tall inside the pocket, waited for the play to develop, and only then delivered to Hollywood Brown. Touchdown, practice 1. And he followed that up by completing the 2-point conversion to Darius Cooper. Pay close attention to what is being described there, because that is not a lucky play. That is pocket presence. That is patience. That is trust in the protection. That is exactly the trait Hurts' critics swear he does not have. And it showed up at the moment the entire practice was being decided, against the defense of the AFC champion, after a horrible start to the day. Do you know how many quarterbacks in this league can erase 2 interceptions and close the session with a sequence like that? Not many. The journalist himself was honest in his evaluation and acknowledged that the offense struggled for a good portion of the day. Nobody here is painting a rosy picture, but he made it clear that scoring at the end to win the practice was a positive finish for Hurts. And that is where the reading gets interesting. The same person who documented the disastrous start also documented the recovery. The report was complete. It was the clip that circulated on social media that was selective. Now the bigger context. And it is essential for understanding why these struggles were entirely predictable. The Philadelphia Eagles offense is being rebuilt from the ground up. Kevin Patullo is no longer calling the plays, and Sean Mannion has taken over a new system with new terminology, new timing, new reads. Anybody who has ever followed an offensive coordinator transition in the NFL knows what that means in August. Timing errors, receivers and quarterback reading coverages differently, balls coming out half a second off schedule. It happens everywhere, to everybody. And that is exactly why joint practices exist. The goal of these sessions is not to win any trophy. It is to expose the flaws while there is still time to fix them. A mistake discovered in August against New England costs you pride. That same mistake discovered in December against a division rival costs you a playoff spot. In that sense, every interception from that day is valuable information handed to the coaching staff for free. And there is more. This offense lost its primary target. A.J. Brown asked out of Philadelphia and ended up with the New England Patriots, the team standing on the other side of that field. Which means Hurts is not just learning a new system. He is learning a new system without the receiver who dominated his target volume over the last 4 seasons, spreading the ball around to a rebuilt group, with Devonta Smith taking over as the #1 receiver. 4 touchdowns under those conditions, against that defense, is a far more impressive data point than most people are willing to admit. And look at who caught those balls. Goddard, Wicks, Hollywood Brown, and Darius Cooper. 4 different names involved in the closing sequence. That is distribution. That is the exact opposite of the problem that haunted this offense last season, when the dependence on a single target became the center of a saga that consumed the entire locker room. Could it be that the absence of one dominant target actually unlocked this offense instead of destroying it? Now let us be fair and transparent, because this is the part almost no channel does. First, it is a practice, nothing more than that. There is no official scoreboard, no referee throwing flags, no 4 quarters of physical wear and tear, and no real consequence in the standings. A B grade in August does not pay a single bill in November, and anybody trying to sell you that data point as proof of an MVP season is being dishonest with you. Second, the grade is one journalist's opinion, however respected and well-informed he may be. It is not an official league metric. It is not PFF. It is not audited advanced statistics. It is a subjective evaluation from somebody who was watching. It carries real weight, because it comes from someone with access and credibility, but it is still a personal read, and another journalist standing on that same field could have seen that day differently. Third, the 2 interceptions genuinely happened and cannot be swept under the rug. The first one, in fact, was a throw to Hollywood Brown in tight coverage, on the very first pass of the day. Ball security was a recurring theme for this offense last season, and seeing it reappear against an elite defense is a legitimate reason for concern, even in August. And fourth, the report itself acknowledges that the offense struggled through a good portion of the session. A brilliant finish does not erase 2 uneven hours. If the pattern of starting badly and reacting late repeats itself in September, against teams playing for real, the Eagles are going to lose games because of it. The question is not whether this team can respond, it is how long it takes them to wake up. But it would also be naive to ignore what the numbers say. 4 touchdowns, a grade that climbed from C- to B in 24 hours, and the hardest play of the day executed with patience inside the pocket at the moment of maximum pressure. If that is the worst-case scenario for a quarterback learning a new system in August, the rest of this season could be a lot more fun than the fan base is imagining. So here is the question for you, Philadelphia Eagles fan. With Jalen Hurts finishing 9 of 15 with 4 touchdowns and 2 interceptions against the defense of the American Football Conference champion, with his grade climbing from a C- on day 1 to a B on day 2, and with an entirely new offensive system still being assembled without its former primary target. Do you believe those interceptions are a genuine warning sign for September, or do you think the comeback in the decisive drill is proof that this offense will be ready right on time? And going deeper, who do you blame most for the uneven day? The quarterback, Sean Mannion's new system, or simply the quality of the defense that was standing on the other side? Drop your opinion in the comments. Do not forget to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. I will be back later to keep you updated with the latest Eagles news.